right, GM everybody, we're back with a new type of episode here. We do a little duo pod virtual from our own home offices. It is July 27th around noon. This should be out next week. It should be fairly quick turnaround on this, but we're experimenting with a little virtual pod outside of all the IRL stuff we do. I'm here today with Andy. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, my home office is also a closet. So if you see if you're watching the video and there's a railing here, that's a hanger in a closet. But it gets the job done.
You're looking good in the closet. It's like a Harry Potter situation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But you don't have any of the background noise or any. It's hard. I mean, for people who don't know, you were working in an office with your wife or soon-to-be wife, and yeah, that's like you guys are both running companies from the same office, taking calls all day. I don't know how that even worked for a little bit. So nice that we have the nice smooth audio in the office.
Yeah, it's not too bad. If you were to jump through this wall behind me, she's right behind me.
She's always on the grind. So I want to start off, a lot of people probably been wondering about Tessera and what we're up to, what we're doing now that Tessera is closing down or in the process of closing down, and maybe what we want to do next. So I kind of want to just start off with, why did Tessera close down, and, what are some things we learned that we can apply going forward? So yeah, I'll let you answer the why did we close part.
Yeah, I think there was this could be like a podcast series in and of itself of a lot of stuff that I've learned over the last couple of years and running a company and all of that. But I think for the most part, it kind of comes down to when we were fractional, and fractional was kind of going crazy after we had launched and doing really well. We raised a big Series A, and the company got a lot bigger, and I think that came with a lot of other challenges that we just weren't totally prepared for, and didn't really expect, as far as slowing down how we do things and just adding a lot of normal company overhead, and slowing down what we can do shipping wise, and then kind of alongside that, as we eventually came into an NFT bear market where things were significantly slower, we ended up in a place where looking at our company's financials and all of these things, the world where we make money anytime soon was going to be really tough, with kind of the market that we had found ourselves in. And so I think one thing that I definitely learned through all of that was just when, I think I took for granted how well the first launch of Fractional went, and kind of expected to be able to continue to reproduce that as we did more stuff. And I think, now knowing what I know now, it's more clear that we kind of caught lightning in a bottle, and we should have pushed harder on that thing and just stuck with it, instead of being okay, now what's the next thing? How do we make this better? How do we expand on it? And so I think that was one of the big things that I learned through all that, and also one of the reasons why we ended up winding down is we kind of found ourselves in a place where it's all right, based on how the NFT market looks, and this was, I think it's even worse now than it was then.
It definitely feels worse now.
Yeah.
I was thinking about imagine pushing the summer series of Escher exclusives in this market, and I was just got stressed out just thinking about it, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think the market hasn't gotten better.
I don't think it's gotten better, and kind of as we thought about it more seriously, it's I'm not sure it's going to get better anytime soon. And then it was just okay, so are we slimming down the company a ton and having a ton of layoffs, and not necessarily pivoting, but kind of refocusing and all of that. And this was an option that was brought to us from some of our investors. And at first we were very apprehensive about it. It was oh, I don't want to do that. We've put a lot of time and energy into this thing. But then kind of as I sat and thought about it more, it's probably the best thing for everyone. We're not going to, waste valuable time building in a space that maybe won't be ready for us for a long time, and people can instead refocus and do other things with their life. So there was a lot of reasons, but yeah, I think the biggest thing was really just realizing we had grown a bit too much for the stage of a company that we were at and the stage of like NFTs that we were at. Like I think probably almost every NFT company that exists has hired too many people. Like probably would be better off firing 50% of the people who work there. And so I think it's just like a tough position to be in. And we kind of had the opportunity to give back a lot of investor money. We hadn't spent that much of it, and so investors were happy to get some money back, get some liquidity, and in a time where things are tough, and kind of close things down gracefully on a good note, and not spend the next like 3 years grinding against a really, really tough market.
No, I feel that for sure. I've been really impressed too with the landing spots of a lot of the Tessera alum. Like the Telegram chat, it's a little quieter now, but was really active the first month or two post closing, and it's nice to see that a lot of our old teammates have found, you know, really good homes within the same Web3 ecosystem. So that was another thing that, you know, going through it at first felt a little bad, but then seeing everybody find a new opportunity that, you know, is something they seem passionate about has felt really good throughout the process. And I've been really impressed with like you and Sean and the team just kind of like stewarding the rest of the team forward, even though, you know, Tessera didn't work out. It's like we care very deeply about all of the teammates and people we were working with, and it's really nice to see that continue, even though like we're not meeting every day and talking and that type of stuff. So it felt like totally a little family. Like it, you know, it sounds cliche, but you spend so much time with people and then it becomes kind of like a family thing.
And I think that's part of the reason that we wanted to do things the way that we did as well. Is like we had an opportunity to do this in a way where we could wind down very gracefully, and we give everyone very generous severance packages, and we were able to kind of not have people rush to find new things. And I think that allowed everyone to kind of, you know, maybe not everyone, but allowed a lot of people in the company to find landing spots that they were happy with and kind of like get settled back in a very comfortable way that they might have otherwise not had.
For sure. It's definitely been an interesting 2 months. Like it's been a roller coaster of emotions. At first it was like, oh man. And then now it's like, yeah, I think that was for the best looking back. So I guess now that we got that out of the way, what's next for you? I know you're dabbling with Nate on some consulting stuff, and curious as to what else is going on in the world of Andy.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't totally know. I think at this exact moment, doing the on-chain studio stuff with Nate, we're doing some consulting, you know, talking to some different founders about our experience and trying to be helpful where we can, a little bit of like dev work for different people, because we're good at that stuff and we like it. But it's not like we have some, you know, secret sauce thing that we're cooking up that we're like, oh yeah, we're going to, you know, in a month we're going to release some new thing and that'll be like, you know, we're going to raise money again and hire. I think one thing that I learned through all of this that was also really valuable, just like more for myself personally, is I think I really like that like really, really early stage, being like in a leadership position, helping getting a company from 0 to 1. But I don't think I'm necessarily a great CEO of a company or like really enjoy doing it. By the end of what we were doing, like I wasn't having a ton of fun in like the normal day to day of work. And so I don't think that that's what I want to do next, which is hard because I think like I also have a very like entrepreneurial mindset, and you know I have like a million different ideas for things that I could do or like go raise money for if I wanted to. But I'm not sure that that's what I want to do. I think I'm, at least right now, more interested in like if I have an idea like that, seeing if I can turn it into a lifestyle business and, you know, make a couple $100,000 a year making some software or something that I think is cool, or try to sell it to a bigger company. But I don't know. I've been spending a lot of time, as you know, and you have as well. It's, you know, the heat of sports gambling time for NFL.
Summer, baby.
Yeah, and so like I definitely have been having some. I've always said that like in another life, if I wasn't doing crypto stuff, I'd be doing sports gambling stuff, and I think that those things will continue to converge over time into just like the online degenerate world. And so I have like random ideas for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't really know. I'm getting married in a month, and so like kind of trying to not get too ahead of myself before then, so that we can, you know, do that
enjoy
first,
your
and
wedding,
we'll
and
yeah,
enjoy
exactly.
your honeymoon, and not like be juggling 3 flaming axes while
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to enjoy
Like the
yourself.
idea of being able to basically just like turn my phone off for a week for our honeymoon is very exciting. And
That's
so
awesome.
at least right now I'm in a place where I'll be able to do that. And so not rushing to ship some new thing that we're going to have to be running support for and all of that. But I do have some ideas. I'm going to, when we get down, I know you have a bit of an itinerary. I'll show you my idea for a new best ball format that I might try to cook
I mean, you
up.
got me watching the Japanese, was it like the Nippon Baseball League drafts
Yeah,
and thinking about the game theory of like going after people who might not be selected by other teams that require no lottery versus going for a stud who everyone is going to want to, go after and win the lottery. And then the second order effects of, yeah, we could go down that a little bit.
Well, yeah, we'll
toward
get
the
to
end.
it later, but
We'll
I'll
do
give you the
sports.
whole pitch of what it would look like. I've been spending some time thinking about it.
But no, going back to just being able to turn your phone off for a week, that's been the biggest unlock for me, I guess, over the last 2 months. It's probably the first time since my senior year of high school where I've had a break from work and school, like a break from responsibilities, right? Like we're posting the podcast every week, and other than promoting the podcast and going to like 3 weekly Twitter spaces, I'm basically free to do whatever I want for the first time in a while. And I've just been spending, more time with Mrs. Deeze, more time on walks, way more time playing DFS, best ball, and even teamfight tactics. But it's nice to just not have a, day-to-day commit. Like, I mean, you in the CEO position, it's like 4+ hours of meetings a day. And that's before you even get to like do anything productive. And then while you're on those meetings, you're answering emails and DMs, and you're like 50%, 25% attentive to the meeting, because if you don't get through the backlog of the async communication while you're on the sync communication, then the async communication is going to take hours after. And it's just this never-ending cycle of like, when am I going to get to do something fun that I can focus on, that I enjoy? So I definitely understand that like transition from 5 employees to managing 30 employees across multiple teams, and how different that is, because when it's 5 people, everyone can hop in a call really quickly, everyone can talk about something, and within 30 minutes or an hour you have a resolution or a way forward. And then with so many other people, it's like takes days or weeks, and it's
Yeah.
like what the
That was
heck
definitely
is-
one of the more frustrating things, is just like getting everyone on the same page was just like so much harder.
Oh,
with that
it's
many
crazy.
people.
Like it's order of magnitude harder between like 5 and 25 employees.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
Big
I
time.
I think I was like the 4th or 5th employee, and early on it was just we all would go on a call, or we'd be in one Slack channel. It was just like, this is what's going on. And then as things broke out, it's like, oh, I don't have visibilities into those channels, so I don't know why this decision was made. So then I need to go to like a different person who has visibility to understand the decision so that I can get feedback on it. And then yeah, it got crazy. But it was definitely,
Yeah, that was one of the things that Nate and I talked about. We were saying if we ever did do something again, we would want it to always be small enough that we could do all communication in one Telegram chat. And we were like, if it ever feels like the one Telegram chat isn't enough, then it's too many people.
it's too big. Yeah, no, it's like the I don't know if it's Bezos or whatever other CEO has like the two pizza meeting heuristic, where like if you were to have a meeting, you can't have more people than 2 pizzas would feed. And that's like kind of feels like our team. It's like if we can't feed the whole team with 2 Joe's pizzas when we're in New York, it's like probably too big of a team.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I haven't heard that one before.
So yeah, so for us too, it's like we have the pod season 3 coming up next month. Excited for that. Excited to see this market is drastically different than last year's. We're doing the pod as ourselves, as like the sole LLC rather than under a big company. So very curious to see how this all goes down. Gonna keep the pod going forward no matter what. If mints don't go super well and we don't get a sponsor, it's like we always have the virtual pods. We can always do stuff like this. And if things do go really well, we get to lean into that IRL space that we've been leaning into for the last year, that we don't really see many other crypto people taking advantage of, mostly because we're all fucking spread across the globe, and it's probably a little crazy to try to do something IRL. But going away from Tessera and what's next, kind of have some general questions about trading, angel investing, pseudo-anonymity, and general advice that some people have asked. So one question I think is really good that I needed to ask myself too is, what did the latest cycle teach you differently from the 2017 cycle? And do you have any advice for someone who experienced their first cycle in 2021 and, missed the previous things we've been through?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one thing that was interesting through all of that, and I don't really even know like how to totally quantify this, but like no matter how much you want to like stick to a plan or do things, like you're still gonna mess up a lot of stuff. Um, and I think a lot of it, like at least for me, and like thinking about like next cycle or different things, is just like putting yourself in a position, like putting more checks and balances to where you like can't mess stuff up, or like it becomes harder versus just being like, oh, I've been through this before. I know what it feels like. I can do it better this time, if that makes sense.
Like trying to actually have a system in place that forces you to take profits and sell certain things rather than relying on your like gut intuition to hopefully hit the red button at the right
Yeah.
time. Um, as
Yeah, yeah,
our
exactly.
gut intuition is changing daily as different types of stimuli flashes before our eyes, whether it's bullish friends and telegram chats, or whether it's a new thread just dropped on the importance of whatever. Yeah, I definitely think, I had some plans. Probably the best plan I had was I'm going to mint 50 squiggles and sell half of them between half an ETH and one ETH, and then I'm going to hold the rest of all of my art blocks and see what happens. That
Mm-hmm.
was probably the one plan I had that I stuck to that did really well, because I sold half my squiggles and I made like 12 ETH, and that 12 ETH was enough to cover the cost basis of every art block I had at that time. And then that let me hold things until the summer, which, I never thought would happen. Like the price is going up, but then I didn't sell enough. Like I sold
Mm-hmm.
one Fidenza and I held two, and then I sold one of those two for like 40 ETH 2 months ago at the nut bottom. Same with a ringer, like didn't sell my ringer. And yeah, it's like I
Yeah.
had that plan. I sold the squiggles and I was like, I'll hold the rest of the art blocks. But then once the prices went down 80% from all time high, I thought to myself, wow, I can't believe I didn't sell more. So
Yeah, I
having
think like for me too, in a similar thing is just like not like I think the first my first time around in like 2017, I just didn't have nearly as much skin in the game
hmm
comparatively, and so like it just wasn't as big of a swing up and down as far as just like total net value of crypto and all of that. And I think like getting better at not being as emotionally married to any particular thing, especially with NFTs. I think that was something that I didn't necessarily do a great job of this past cycle, and I'm like was trying to get better at kind of as things were going on. Um, of just like, yeah, this thing is up 10x. I'm going to sell it. I don't care that I like it. Like it
Do you
doesn't
think
matter
it's
that much.
harder with 'cause when I think of like your most prolific wins, I can't help but think of Top Shot. Do you think it was harder or easier to sell Top Shot moments versus like art blocks or or like stuff on ETH? Like, because I
So I
feel,
think.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
the Top Shot stuff just got really crazy a little ahead of everything else. Like that Top Shot market peaked, and then like I don't know, 4 or 5 months after, then Art Block Summer happened and all that stuff. But curious to compare, like, is it harder to sell a moment you're up 100 or 1,000x on versus Squiggle or you know NFT?
Yeah, I think it was just different. I think the main thing, and I talked about this with, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was just saying, like, I at that point was doing like a lot of Club Top Shot, and I was
Mm-hmm.
gaining a lot of my followers at the time because of Top Shot. And I like, a part of me was just like, I don't want to dump this thing that I'm telling like I'm talking about every week multiple times and saying is really cool. Like, it would just be like a bad vibe if I was also selling
Selling 80% of
massive
your
amounts of it.
collection.
But I think in retrospect, I should have just done that and been honest about it and just been like, And because I mean, no matter when I sold, people were like, "Why are you selling?" And I was like,
And you were
"Because
buying
I want
those
the money."
moments like 6 months before Club Top Shot came out for pennies. I mean,
Yeah,
you were just collecting them because you like to collect them, collecting them because you want to have sets and stuff. It wasn't like you thought when you were buying it, like, oh, this could go up to $100,000.
yeah, no, not a chance. And so I think that it was like slightly different in that sense. But I think at the end of the day, it was probably easier once I started selling, just because of how much the market like kind of fell apart, and it became like a bit more of a, I don't totally want to bet on like the flow ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
comparatively to where like selling art blocks or like selling a squiggles, like I still have a massive belief in art blocks and Snowfro and the people
Yeah.
who are doing these things. So I think that's where it was slightly different, was with the Top Shot one. It wasn't just like I should be taking profit, but also being a little bit disenfranchised with like how they were doing things.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy, not to flame Dapper too much, but like some of the same mistakes that were made with CryptoKitties were then repeated again with Top Shot, and then, you know, Doodles kind of repeating some of the same mistakes. Like they very frequently do these very dilutive, high supply things that extract more money from the. I mean, they are consumers. Like people collecting
Mm-hmm.
this stuff are consumers. They're not investors. But it just does seem like a little short-sighted that the same mistakes, or some of the same mistakes that led to the demise of the first project, could lead to the demise of the second, and then
Yeah, the whole Top Shot thing is so interesting. I think that they had a lot of, they had some bad luck. I think that actually how fast it went up was bad luck for them in the long term. I think that there's another version where it's this slower burn that goes a lot better for the company. Um,
too much
but
growth too
who
fast
knows?
is like the theme of 2021, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you talked about it with Tessera and Fractional. Um, a lot of us were, you know, we knew that that probably wasn't sustainable, but we didn't know what the baseline looked like. We didn't know, like, you know, maybe the baseline is like 98% less than what we're
Yeah.
experiencing right now. We're like, well, maybe the baseline's like 50% less or 80% less or something.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that was like, I think getting better at recognizing when something is like going totally parabolic like that, and everyone's like, we are now in a new paradigm where this is the best way to do this thing. Everything has changed. And like trying, like, I think getting better at reconciling, like, when your thesis was correct, but also like things don't go up forever, and like those two things can both be true at the same time. Um, I think that's something that like will definitely be helpful next cycle, because that's something that I didn't totally experience in 2017. Like I didn't have anything that I bought. I had stuff that I bought that went up 100x, but I put $200 into it, and I didn't sell it. I bought Neo when it was Ant shares for like pennies, and it went up to like $100 a piece. But it was nothing, and I ended up losing the private key for it, and like it was ended up being worthless. And so it was like a very different experience this time around, and like being better at kind of accepting that maybe you were right on some bet that you made, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't sell.
No, for sure. Being right and then like being guilty that you made money, that you were right, is a thing that I ran into too, when you're talking about the thing and then it goes up and then you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I was right, but am I a hypocrite if I sell? I don't know.
Yeah.
But now that we are moving into this, like, it's not a full-blown bear market for everything in crypto. It's just a little bit, it's more bearish in NFT land than it is other parts of the ecosystem. How are you, or if you are at all, like picking up on new metas and positioning yourself to spot the next big thing? Like, I know with Top Shot, you were early. We were early to a bunch of stuff in 2021, but are you still staying curious and like going out in the trenches and grinding on shit, or how are you trying to keep up with everything that's going on?
Yeah, I'm doing it a bit, not as well as I would have liked. I think like I've been a little bit too risk averse over the last like 12 months, which Allie's gonna love hearing me say that. Um,
As she's doing your taxes.
yeah, I think I've been a little bit too risk averse to where like when you see stuff like Pepe or Unibot or all these different things or Rollbit, where it's like I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I could see why this would go up, but like, bear market, not going to, and so it didn't, either didn't buy or didn't buy as much as I would have liked, whatever. And so I've been trying to kind of get back into that a bit and just kind of like, I don't think that you necessarily need to be like, there was a point in time in like 2021 where it's like, if you're not risking a large amount of your money on other stuff, like you're dumb because it's like of just like the market conditions and kind of how things were playing out. And like, this is definitely not that, but just like, setting aside some amount of money to continue to, like you were saying, be curious and try things and, buy the random bridging Telegram shitcoin and
The Telegram
like
bots.
whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, we have like Telegram bot, we have useless token meta. I mean, with Harry Potter, Bitcoin, Shiba Inu 10, and various other
Oh man.
just complete meme coins that are definitely worthless, but people, build up a network around them. And I don't know, I'm trying to stay active in Twitter and Telegram chats, and I'm trying to ape things. I just started using Unibot 2 weeks after I sold the token, which was probably some poor due diligence on my end. I think if I
It's
would
the
have
classic move of buy the token, sell the token, then start using the product.
and then realize
And then go,
like,
oh, wait,
the
it's a
product's
good
like
product.
pretty good. Like
Yeah.
I
Why did
am
sell?
able to just copy paste a shitcoin address, paste it into this bot, and everything else is preloaded to just work. And like, that's a lot nicer than fumbling open Firefox and going to Uniswap and then
Half
doing
your transactions
face
fail.
ID to then confirm another transaction, and then by then I got slipped and sandwiched. Like, it's actually pretty nice. I can't believe I didn't use it first. But I can definitely believe it. But like I said, I can't believe it. But yeah, being risk averse is tough because we know there are certain times where things are going to go up a crazy amount, and we are not, always going to get those times. So when we see things going up a crazy amount, we feel like you need to bet more. But then, I was telling you before we started this, I have been betting a little more, and I'm just betting more on the wrong things. Or maybe I'm just early, who knows?
So
but
early.
it's tough balance because you get a lot of FOMO when you see a bunch of stuff going up a lot, and you're like, okay, I need to find something that is also going to go up a lot. And then that FOMO kind of causes some poor decisions to creep in because you start buying out of greed and lusty expectations in a way, and not just like I fundamentally really like this thing. It's like a toy. Like when you were buying Top Shots, when I was minting Squiggles, there was none of this like, oh, I see a bunch of stuff going up a lot and I want to copy that. It was much more like, oh, this is kind of like a toy, or like I like collecting Pokemon cards, or I like collecting all sets and stuff, and like now I'm collecting a new set of stuff. Like it feels different, so I like try to tell myself don't get too excited unless something feels like a toy that you're not worrying about the money on, because when you get excited about something you're worrying about the money on, it's like more likely to lose because you're just probably gambling. That's how my last 2 months have felt.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I think like then it's just having appropriate risk management for all of that kind of stuff, which is tough and another challenge in and of itself. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's definitely, I hadn't been much of a shitcoiner prior. I know you had spent more time in the trenches of Uniswap shitcoining than I have, and so this has been a new market for me. It's been fun to experiment with, and I think it does kind of like reiterate some of the general theses I have about crypto, of it just like being a really good online casino that's feels like there isn't too much house edge.
No, it doesn't feel like there's a house edge. It's just, are you swimming in a shark-infested water or not? And do you have the ability to, check the chain and see how infested the waters you're about to dive into really are? The shitcoins for me, it's almost better to shitcoin, I think, with less of a like capital, or like less like if you are only trading with a $10,000 portfolio, I think it's actually better than if you have like $1 million and you're trying to trade shitcoins, because this stuff is so illiquid, so many MEV bots, there's so much risk to what you're doing, and like back when I, had a 10K or so bankroll and was shitcoining, I was only putting like zero point 0.1 to 0.25 into most shitcoins. Like very rarely would I put zero point 0.5 ETH in. And at the time, ETH was like $5K or $500. So 20 ETH was like 10K. So now that's vastly different. I mean, 20 ETH now is like 40K or a little under. But I'm also just like betting more ETH that I shouldn't be betting. Like I should keep the same sizing that I had when I was small. But then the rational part of me is like, no, like, percent of portfolio risk, like you're good. Just keep taking bigger size shots. And then I just feel like I'm oversized in a lot of these positions because it's really like it's going to go up.
Yeah, and it's not a whales game. Like it's just not a thing where you can put in, 10 grand and in a lot of these coins at least.
No, I mean a lot of them you're
totally
buying them under 500K market cap and the liquidity is under 100K.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you're if you're buying a fifth of the liquidity with one market buy, you're going to send the price up a lot. More likely to get sandwiched. It's if you're not using some type of protection, but it's definitely been a learning experience. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? I'll just fire off like 1 or 5 ETH into this, and then I'm like, holy shit, wait, how much? Oh wow, okay, wait, maybe I should be putting in like 0.1 to 0.5 again. But yeah, that's the new meta stuff is tricky, and I feel like right now we're not bringing in new people, so it's like PvP meta with the same 5,000 or maybe less active wallets, so it feels a lot different than like Uniswap Summer and NFT Summer when just new people were joining all the time and you were explaining the tech to them. Like these people understand how all the tech works, and feels a lot more like deep wilderness PKing in RuneScape and a lot less like just killing a boss and getting loot or something. But yeah, I have some other questions about just like jobs and in general advice for people. One of the questions,
for sure. I will also say at some point I might have to pause for like 5 minutes. We're having our bed frame delivered today, and so that's a big day. Yeah, we finally got a king size bed, and so that we'll be here today. We've had the mattress sitting in our closet for like 2 weeks.
Oh, so I think we did the whole like we put the bed down without a frame thing, and then just we're doing that for like a month until we got the frame. King size bed's a game changer. We got the Cali King. And that extra little bit of length where you can have like a dozen pillows on the bed and still not have your feet hanging off. That's a game changer. This question I have is just like, I got a question from somebody on Twitter who might be a good trader, but they asked, what's your advice for someone trying to get a job in crypto with their best talent being trading and no real resume? And maybe I can answer that one too, because that might have been me at some point in time.
Yeah, I think like probably if in general, if you are like, especially in this kind of like current market of trading, if you are good at it, you probably have a really good finger on the pulse for like just crypto in general. And they just rang our doorbell, so I'll answer this and then maybe we can pause for a minute. You should probably like have a pretty good finger on the pulse of crypto in general, and so like I would say that something around like strategy or like product and just like really leaning on the fact that you probably know crypto really well and are more well versed than most people. Like I think most teams in crypto could use having another degen on the team who like can tell them like, hey, this is stupid. This isn't better than Unibot or whatever other thing they would need to hear.
No, for sure. The people who spend all their time trading have a talent stack that they don't realize is probably pretty unique to a lot of the talent stacks at existing Web3 companies, because there aren't that many people who DJ and trade. We could use this as a break point. Go take care of the bed.
I'll be right back.
Chill here, and then we'll chop it up after.
So
the question was, what's your advice for someone trying to get a job at Web3, blah, 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 with the talent being trading and no resume? I will add that I think you just being really active on social media and in Discord and Telegram group chats with people who are in the industry is like really plus EV if you enjoy that time spent. For me, like I got the job at Fractional because of my time spent on Twitter and the Punks Discord and Artbox Discord and all the other communities I just enjoyed hanging out in. So I do think it's pretty worthwhile to spend time in the groups that you're interested in. I got lucky. The time that I joined was a quieter time, and I was able to make friends with Snowfro and Dave and Justin and Scaly and a bunch of these OG punk people who kind of led me to, pretty good places. And they were always very thoughtful and kind and cautious. Like, nobody was really shilling their bags at the time. A lot of it was like, yeah, man, these punks are like $1,000 now. They were like $200 last month. You might want to wait for a retrace. Like that type of energy, and not like, oh, if you don't buy today and you might miss out on another 10x. Like, there was none of that. But I would say, like, spending time in those communities that it didn't feel like a waste of time when I was spending all day there. But like, even if it does feel like a waste of time to somebody, I would say, like, look for the right group or the right smaller community to join, to then go deeper with, because that's how you're able to build these deeper connections which help you get your foot in the door. There's not a lot of you can't really like plan out the opportunities that you'll get, but just having the network in place allows for a lot of opportunities. And I think that kind of leads to the next section of questions I have, which are based on angel investing and just investing with lockups versus the degeneracy we normally do. So kind of a fun question, I guess, is what was your first angel investment, and like, how did you originally get into angel investing?
My first ever was actually in Rye, the MakerDAO fork. That
Nice.
was when I worked at Maker, and I was just like trying to get into that, and I didn't really have much of a reputation in crypto at that time. But because I worked at Maker and it was a fork of Maker, I angel invested in that. Didn't make any money off of that. Lost money on that one.
What did you learn from that one? Did you lose the money pretty quick? Like, did you know that money was gone before you made your second angel investment? Or was there like hope?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay.
But I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much I did learn from it. I think like it was a bit unique in some ways. Like I think that probably what I learned mostly from it was like I want it to be something where like I'm at least somewhat friendly with the founders, to where like I'm, I know them well enough to shoot them a message and talk to them about something, or like, there's some level of a relationship there. I think that's like really valuable in just like sussing out what's going to be a good investment or not, or at least like helping to increase your odds.
No, for sure. I think for me, my first angel investment was the summer of 2021. It was about a month after joining Fractional, and I made 2 angel investments within the same week in 2 competing products. I made a small angel investment in gallery.so, and then I made a very similar sized investment in OnCyber within the same week, because it was a lot of, people saw my collection at the time. And they were very curious as to how I would like to display it. So that I invested in 2 companies that, display NFTs, whether it's OnCyber's 3D or Gallery's 2D. And then from there on, I think I've made 14 total angel investments, all between like 10 and 75 grand. And what I kind of learned through the process is that like the $10,000 checks were more sympathy checks, like this is like my friend or a friend of a friend, like I don't really understand the idea, but I want to support them, and
so like screw it, I'll throw 10K.
Yeah, and like all of those are going to zero if they're not at zero already. Like there's only 3 or 4 of the total are those, but those are the worst ones. Like, and I would say my advice that I just give everybody about everything, which really relates to angel investing, is that like if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And I've really leaned into that. So like I made a bunch of angel investments Q4 2021 and Q1 2022, like those 6 months, and then I haven't made one since like August 2022. So I've been a lot more pessimistic or a lot more willing to say no now that I've gone through this whole process. Because I mean, one thing you don't really realize when you get into it is just like how long the lockups really are. I think we're really spoiled by trading very liquid things in a 24/7 market, that when we get some position that's locked for 4 years, or most of these are at least 6 months, most a year. Recently we just started getting some Blur unlocked, and we made that angel investment in like January 2022. So that was a year and a half or so to get any type of unlock there. But that liquidity suck is just bigger than I thought. And I did a good job in hindsight of limiting the total amount angel invested. My goal was to never have more than 5% of my portfolio be angel investments. Mm-hmm. And as my portfolio went down rapidly, that kind of got bigger than it should have been. Like right now, the value of my angel investments compared to my total portfolio is probably closer to like 12.5%, maybe even a little higher. And that just counts the amount of like capital I invested, not any returns. So, I've been lucky with a few of these that I'll be okay, but I definitely learned that I needed to be a little more selective because those $10,000 angel checks weren't cutting it. But a lot of these opportunities just came up because I was active on social media, active in communities, making friends with people, and then friends know friends, and then they introduce you to each other. Like, I mean, I remember when you introduced me to Pac-Man, we were in Bahamas.
Yeah,
it was like,
shout out.
The Crypto Bahamas, shout out FTX and SPF for that one. But I probably would have never met him or had that opportunity if I wasn't friends with you. And there's been other investments like that where just being good friends with somebody let me get my foot in the door. Like Arbitrum is a probably good example there.
Yeah.
And in the sports betting world, established a run. That was my biggest in terms of investment amount, because it was the most solid / tangible investment.
You were actually making money. It was a
it was like,
product
wow,
I
this
already
is
used.
like a team of people that I've been following for basically 10 years at that point, and I know them very well, and they've been executing for like 10 plus years in the same vertical, and we're getting a dividend. Okay, this is a no-brainer. Nothing like that really exists in crypto. So that was why I made a bigger bet there. But I definitely think I've cooled down on angel investing until I recoup more liquidity from the existing angel investments. I think, one of the questions we got is ethics around dumping. And I think that's something we touch on a little bit. But, when you have a token that's locked up and you get some after a year, like, I think it's perfectly fine. You should be happy to sell it for a gain. Like, I don't think there should be people say, oh, the VCs are dumping. It's like, well, the VCs or the investors had to take the risk to get to this point to begin with. And unless you're on the VC side of things, like, you don't really see all the losers and just total zeros on the books. So when you do get a winner, like, you need to take the profit, cover some taxes, and then keep some ammo in the chamber to reallocate to a future opportunity. Like, do you get any shit for, or I guess not shit, but do you think any, like, because I've asked you before when I'm literally selling a token unlock, like, I should do this, right? Like, I'm like, I need sometimes that push of like, hey man, it's okay to sell. Like, do you feel the same, or are you better now about just being like, fuck it? Like,
I think I've gotten a lot better at it, where like, I guess just like one thing that I definitely got more comfortable with personally through all of this is like assuming nothing immoral or whatever. Like, it'd be one thing if I was like dumping the token while I was like
tweeting about
shilling it on Twitter nonstop and whatever. And that's something that I would never do. But I think like I just don't give a shit about people who want to give someone else shit for selling something. Like, I don't think that I really care about their opinions anymore. And so if they want to like be mad that someone sold something or I sold an angel investment and made money, like, that's their prerogative, but I just don't care. And I think that's how everyone should think about it.
Yeah.
And like,
worry about your own problems.
yeah, like I just think like the amount that people want to like have thoughts about other people's finances in crypto is like pretty ridiculous. And so I just personally, like, I just don't really care anymore. You can be mad about it if you want. If like a, you know, a founder of a team reached out to me and said like, hey, why are you selling this, which has never happened, because they're not the ones who actually care. They have bigger things to worry about, and you know, they made lockups for a reason, and you just kind of assume that, you know, I think like probably they would care more if I was their largest investor and I was like dumping all of my unlocks, but I'm not. But they I don't think they ever care. And if one of them did, I'd be happy to talk to them and say like, yeah, if you want to find a home for this stuff to sell at OTC or something instead of me selling it on Uniswap, like, sure, happy to help you with that. But
yeah, and
yeah,
I've been
I don't
actually
think it's a big deal.
selling some on centralized exchanges just so it's not on Uniswap. So like people can't even go to the wallet and point on chain to be like, look at this guy dump. It's like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But next question is based on pseudo-anonymity. I think we're on opposite sides of the spectrum here. Got a couple questions about it. My first question to you would be like, do you regret being doxxed or not anonymous or pseudo-anon now that you've went through like a whole cycle of, were you in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times? You were in a big article
Yeah, it was Wall
about
Street Journal.
Top Shot with the cat.
Yeah, I think I go back and forth on this. I don't think that I would do it differently if I had to do it over again. I think what I would have done differently was also spend time building up a pseudo anonymous persona. Like I know people in the industry who have, you know, double digit followers on a dox persona and a pseudo anon persona.
Shout out Tuba.
Yes, shout out to Tuba. Exactly. But honestly, I don't think I like give a shit enough about like my online presence anymore to want to do that. Like I've tried before, and I'll like make an anon account and I'll shitpost from it for like a little bit and get a couple followers, and I'm like, I'm bored. I'm just gonna go back to my main account.
It's like you're reply guying to your friends on an account that they don't know is you. It's just like,
yeah, like what's the point of this?
I feel that.
So I don't know. I think like in a perfect world, maybe I rather would have been like slightly more anonymous. Maybe like in general, keeping my like last name a little bit, or, you know, most people don't know what it is or whatever, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think that there definitely is some level of like trust I get from people just from them knowing who I am and stuff. But yeah, I guess like by rambling about this, the long-winded answer of saying like, I don't think it really matters that much one way or the other.
Yeah, I've definitely went back and forth on it quite a bit. Obviously, I've been pushing the pseudo-anonymity for a while now, but I had a conversation with Redbeard last week about it, and he's like, you know, we're talking about this thing I'm probably going to speak at the end of September. I don't think he announced it, and I don't know if he announced it by the time this will come out, so I'll just tell you what it is off the air. But there's this event, and I saw a Redbeard, and he's like, you know, if you just always wear masks, like, yeah, you're gonna be Deeze and not your face, but like you're always gonna be that guy who wears a mask, and that's probably gonna get you more attention you don't like than just like being yourself. And that was one of the first times I ever really thought about it like that, but I think he's probably right. So I expect to be a little more doxed going forward. Like I'm not posting my full name and selfies with Mrs. Deeze on Twitter, but like, you know, next event I go to, I'll probably just talk as myself and not wear a mask, or like, you know, maybe on some of the next episodes of the podcast in season 4, you know, maybe I'll just tell Weish, like, you don't have to put the punk over me. There's been a couple clips in the existing season where like people will send me a 5-second thing of like, oh, hey, your punk isn't on your face here. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's like, whatever. Like, if people want to find it, like I go to every event. I'm very public there. Like people know me anyway. There's no real point, but I do think I'm happy that I kept the genie in the bottle, because that first NFT NYC where I spoke as myself, and it was crazy. It wasn't like, it was like when we launched Fractional, and everything was up only, like that wasn't fun. Like I didn't like people coming up to me and taking selfies I didn't want them to take and then posting them, and it was
Yeah,
just,
I think to me the bigger thing that I realized is I just like am super not interested in there being like a spotlight on me as a person. Like it's just like it's not something that's exciting or like compelling for me. It's I'm definitely
stressful.
fortunate to have a following that and like people who care about what I have to say for whatever reason. But like it's not something that brings me a lot of joy, and so it's not something like I don't feel any desire to like increase my follower count or like try to get more engagement on Twitter. To me, that's just like it's a thing that I do that's fun. Um, and so I think that really for me is the bigger thing is like I think if I was trying to become a million person following person, then maybe I'd have stronger feelings about it. But like for right now, I'm just like pretty happy to have people generally not really give a shit about me and have the people who I know, they're gonna know who I am regardless.
Yeah, that's been something I've been trying to grapple with as, now not working for a company, but probably going to be relying on my social media account and audiences for livelihood going forward. Not asking for donations or anything, but simply like sharing engagement numbers with sponsors and getting, ad dollars and that type of shit. And it's been a real change of pace because for the last couple of years, like I wasn't really focused on that. I was just being myself and being super active, and then the engagement kind of took care of itself. And now I'm at the other end of the spectrum where like I've taken most of July off in the sense that I haven't been on Twitter 8 hours a day posting, and engagement's way down, like 50% plus from June and previous months. And then I'm talking to like friends at Rug Radio and other influencers about sponsorships and ads and stuff and how they pitch their impressions and stuff. And I'm like, well, shit, like, my July stats look horrible. I need to, post more GM photos and be just a little more thoughtful about engaging with a lot more people and not just opening it up and firing off 2 stream of consciousness tweets and closing it. It's definitely weird. It's like I don't like that feeling of, okay, now I need to like optimize time to get impressions. Like I've never been in that space before, and maybe I don't even need to be in that space, but it's my head putting me there because it's like, well, what is the obvious lever I can pull to, generate something? It's like, okay, well, I have this engagement impressions lever that I can pull and then share with, potential sponsors and get revenue for the pod and stuff. So it's definitely a new thought process. I don't love it, honestly. Like it, for you, it's like you like building something from 0 to 1 in a small team, and it's like you don't like going on Twitter and posting threads with nice graphics and emojis to get people to click the red heart. And like, for me, I don't like that stuff either, but it's a little more important, I think. So I have to like it a little bit. And
Yeah, and I think that you're a little bit more social than I am online, where it's like, I don't know, like the amount of time you spent on Twitter Spaces over the last couple of years, like I think you get a little bit more energy out of that than I do. It's not something that's like incredibly exciting to me to go sit on a Twitter Space.
I've been so like off of Spaces the last 2 months too. That's another
I
thing
know.
where like I go to GN Web 3, maybe I'll hit a Rug Radio morning show once a week, and I'm always on the Macro Tuesday Lucky Trader. And then other than that, I'm like maybe in one space a week outside of that. So from my peak where I was like 8 to 12 hours a day in spaces to now, I definitely get less energy. And a lot of the energy comes from the market itself. When things are going up, new things are coming out, people are excited. I'm a lot more excited to talk to excited people. And now it's just like, I don't want to say it's a lot of complaining and venting and whatnot, but it's just not the same as that bull energy.
Yeah.
So I've just been I don't know. I don't want to say I don't enjoy it as much, but I mean, I guess I definitely don't, so I'm not spending as much time there. So going into sports and gaming, kind of the last section I have, and where we've probably been spending more of our time lately than people realize. Have you so first question is about best ball. how many best ball drafts are you up to now, and what are some of your favorite NFL players to target?
All right, let's see. I have my completed, so I can tell you. I'll do a quick summation of all of my 2023 season. I think I'm at around like 250
And are
best
you
ball
drafting
drafts.
mostly on Underdog, or is it a mix between DraftKings, Drafters, other platforms?
I have just gotten onto DraftKings recently, and I'm a total noob with it. Like I don't even really know how to check what I've done. Um,
I
I
have a
have
way better luck on DraftKings using their like mobile app than I do the website. The website feels like it's stuck in 2008 and I can't find
yeah.
anything. And then the mobile app is a little more intuitive.
So I
Um,
have 45 entries done on DraftKings for their like main tournament. I have 96 in Best Ball Mania 4. And then I have a bunch of other drafts.
nice.
I like maxed out the Pomeranian. I have some like puppies,
Superflex.
chihuahuas,
Do you do any Superflex?
poodles. Yes, I forgot I didn't even count those. Yeah, I've got like 10 super flexes. I've got 16 weekly winners, 27 rookie and sophomores, um,
Dude, weekly
26
winners.
pre-draft best ball.
How do you feel about weekly winners? Like, do you feel confident in your drafts there, or are you just kind of guessing as to what you
So
think might be good? Because it feels really different than like season long best ball. Like, I feel
it's
like
super different.
you don't give a shit about floor. You know, there's like certain things where I was looking at a chart and it showed Pat Kerrane's winning lineup for BBM 3 last year, and it showed like how it wouldn't have even sniffed any weekly winners weeks throughout the year, and it's like, okay, that kind of shows the difference between a season long with playoff versus like a weekly winner format. I'm actually like kind of scared to allocate a ton of money into it because I don't think I have any edge. I'm probably drafting suboptimally there because I'm looking at ADPs and just thinking more like best ball mania hierarchy and not thinking about like attacking specific weeks. Like number one, I don't know the schedule of weeks 1 through 15 well at all, and I don't have like a nice spreadsheet showing me correlations I should be attacking there. And like I've been completely just like fading the contest, but definitely curious if you think there's any like big edge that you may think you have over the field there, because I don't think I have any.
Yeah, I definitely. So I think like what I think is fun about it is I don't think anyone has an edge really, or maybe a few people do, but like everyone's kind of guessing what their edge is because you can compare past BPM drafts and try to run back the numbers and see. But like until you actually see what these drafts come out looking like for a couple of years and have some data, like no one really has much to work on. It's a lot of theory. And like I kind of like it because it feels very unsolved. And so like yeah, there's going to be some really sharp players who are drafting really well and are going to probably make a killing. But then I think there's also going to be a bunch of guys who just like do it because it's fun, and like their entire best ball strategy is based around like reading articles on Establish the Run and don't really think for themselves very much, and they're just like drafting ADP, putting in some ETR rankings, and so I do think that there's like some middle ground there of like I may not have like a perfect like understanding of structurally how do you win this thing, but I like to think that I can think about it critically more than the average person who's doing it and probably have it come out being plus EV for me is kind of is how I'm thinking about it. I did like a really funny. We did a draft on Club Top Shot on Tuesday, and I had a fun team where I got Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen early, and I think I might have gotten Austin Eckler as well. And I only drafted players who played against the Chargers, and that was my entire strategy. Was it was
Set
like
the Chargers schedule up,
offense is
and
going to
you're
be
like,
good.
who do they
I
play?
literally had it pulled up, and I was like, oh, they don't play the Chargers, I can't pick them. And so like every single week I have correlation, and so the bet's like 1 week the Chargers play a 45-40 game, and if you hit right, you win. And so like I think that there's a lot of interesting strategy that like I'm not convinced that just like stacking week 4 or something is the totally right way to do it, because you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket. But I don't know. I think it's going to be fun, and I just think that having like the sweat equity of that like kind of weekly tournament style will be really fun as well. Um, but yeah, it's hard to say like what it ends up being like. Obviously, it's a bummer that like the kind of top end payout isn't as much because of that like weekly payout style.
It's like what,
But
25, no, 20 to first every week for 17
something like
weeks. It's
that,
like 20,
20K to
10,
first.
9, 8. I do like how it's a little flat at the top. I mean, it's like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Yeah,
But it isn't like I don't want to max enter this like I do BBM. I don't want to max enter this like I want to max enter the DraftKings $10. And the more I draft on DraftKings, like the more I feel like I should have 66% of my action on DraftKings and like 33% on Underdog, and that feels really bad to say, but I'm 110 drafts in on DraftKings, and the drafts are just different. I mean, people will reach a round or two more for QBs, but then everything else just falls. And I'm able to get these teams that like I don't think I could ever get on Underdog.
yeah,
There's times where I've even taken Najee Harris on DraftKings because he's available sometimes at like 55, and you're like, okay,
yeah. I've taken him a
like
couple times as well.
I gotta take him. Like I'm just
I took
gun to
Treylon
my
Burks
head.
at like 97 today.
Yeah, I've
Felt
seen him
good.
go in the 100s.
Yeah.
The only thing I never really see is like the Chase owner getting Burrow in the fourth.
It's
That
almost impossible.
I got one team out of 100 and some that have Chase, Higgins, Burrow in the fourth.
Yeah.
Every other time, it just does not come back. Like people in the beginning of the third round take a naked Joe Burrow because his ADP is like 36.
Same with Lamar Jackson. I had a great team get setting up. I got Mark Andrews at like 4 picks past ADP, had just the guy in between me, and I'm like, you don't want Lamar Jackson. You have no
He has
reason
no
to draft
Miami
Lamar Jackson.
players,
He's like,
no
you know
Andrews.
what? You're wrong. I do want Lamar Jackson.
Lamar is my most owned quarterback in the top 5 by far.
Let's see. I only do my exposure based on BBM, like for my own. I have like a personal sheet that I keep track of all of it with. So let me see. I think mine is Jalen Hurts actually. I'm under the field on basically all of them. I'm right at the field on Hurts. I'm under on Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes by a decent chunk.
So I'm drastically different depending on the website. On Underdog, I have the highest Hurts with 11%, and I also have 9% Josh Allen and 8% Lamar, and I'm under the field everybody else. But on DraftKings, I feel like I'm taking way more Lamar because the other quarterbacks are going like 18, like 17 to 22, and then
This is
Lamar's
going to
there.
show my noobishness. How do I see my exposure on DraftKings?
So the only way I know how to do it is on the mobile app. Um,
All right, let me pull it up. I'll take a look
on
and
the
let you know.
mobile app, go to the upcoming tab on the
Okay.
bottom. And then in the middle of the screen, there's just a full row that says view my player exposure.
Yep. All right.
And then there is all the goodies.
So let's see. Oh, you know who I'm high on DraftKings actually is I've found myself taking, and granted I'm only 45 drafts in, so it's not a ton of sample size. It's Justin Fields and Justin Herbert are the two high end QBs that I've been taking.
I
And
like
then-
that Mike Williams goes really late on DraftKings. Like,
Yeah,
you
and so
can get
does
Mike
Quentin
Williams.
Johnson.
Oh yeah, Quentin. Yeah, the rookie wide receivers don't get the love on
Yeah,
DraftKings.
yeah. I'm
that
like
they get.
4% Jalen Hurts, 4% Josh Allen, 4% Mahomes. I'm just not getting to those guys on DraftKings.
6% Burrow, 6% Allen, can't 2% Hurts. I don't have a Mahomes lineup at over 109 drafts, and I'm sitting at 14% Lamar, and I have 33% Daniel Jones.
I love that.
Every draft seems to go like this. I take a really good wide receiver. We'll say, I take Tyreek or Chase or somebody early. Second round, I probably grab a running back like Pollard, Saquon, JT. Third round, probably another wide receiver or running back. I like taking Brees in there, but I also
I have 18% Brees Hall.
He's cozy on. I'm at 19% on DraftKings. Like he's going after Gibbs sometimes in the last couple days. Like he's going at 36.
I drafted him like 120 yesterday. Something crazy.
Wait, what? We got Brees Hall at 120?
Oh no, I already had the next person in my head was Antonio Gibson.
Oh,
I drafted Antonio Gibson.
I was like,
I did actually. In my draft this morning before we got on this, I was at pick 39 and I had the option of Ramondre or Brees, and I always take Brees, so I took Ramondre just to mix it up. But that was kind of crazy. Whoever was after me got Brees at 40.
Ramondre is somebody I'm at 6% on, and it kind of scares me. But I'm at 37% Lenny Fournette, and I don't know that there's certain players. There's like 5 players that I'm over 30% on, and I seem to always select them if they're up, almost regardless of my team's composition, and that's Fournette, Jalen Warren, Danny Jones, Hunter Henry in the last round, and Rashad Bateman. Because Rashad Bateman goes at like
his ADP is ridiculous on DraftKings.
106. He's going like at the same pick as Allen Lazard on DraftKings.
Yeah, I feel like on DraftKings too, the like super late round, like you can't really punt on running back like you can on underdog on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you wait till the last 3 rounds to fill in like 3 running back spots, you look and it's like, oh, guess I'm taking Deuce Vaughn.
You're gonna have fucking Josh Kelly, Travion Williams, and like Zach Evans.
And so I find myself taking Leonard Fournette a lot as well. I have like 18% or so. But then I also have a lot of that like next tier up guys. Like on DraftKings, I'm getting a lot of like Kendre Miller and Rashawn Johnson and like that whole crew.
I had to back off
Devin A-Chain earlier on.
I'm very heavy on A-Chain. I'm at 27% A-Chain on DraftKings. Tua seems to be the one quarterback that I actually get to stack a bit. I'm at 12% Tua. And the other ones... I think
it's because it's a lot of, like, I know ball guys on DraftKings who are like, oh, he's a concussion waiting to happen. He's not going to play this year.
But they're taking Tyreek and Waddle, and they're super happy to do it. I noticed the ADP on Tua, it slides more on DraftKings than Underdog, and he's one of the very few quarterbacks where I noticed that. Because in Underdog, he goes like right after Watson in the mid to late 80s, and there's times on DraftKings where I'm getting Tua at like 95, 96, especially if I have Waddle or Hill, and then the other person with Waddle or Hill is on the opposite side of the draft and they passed on it. And I find myself getting a lot of Watson too. Amari Cooper, Chubb, Watson, that trio of just like hoping that is a concentrated offense that improves drastically. Feels really comfy. Like I think my ideal team is like I have Deshaun Watson or Herbert, and then I have Danny Jones, or some of them even have like Richardson. But then it's like I have like these 2 quarterbacks that are super high upside. Also, some with some running floor, some with just I don't even know what Deshaun Watson's floor is. It's really low.
But by the way, don't look at the price of Tetris right now.
It's up. So I talked about it at the start of the pod, and it is up 7x from where I tweeted my shit post about it. And people in a Telegram chat I'm in think that my shit post was talking shit about them when it was really just me reading 2 tweets from like Pwn Lord and making a shit post. But yeah, it's at a $3.5 million market cap now, and we were talking about it under 800K. So as always, and there's a candle where it just went down 33% and is getting bought up. I mean, this is a shitcoin summer, baby. Yeah, best ball has been basically what I spend all my free time on when I am not sure what to do. It's like I either play TFT or open up best ball, and
or both.
You got me hooked on both, but I find what happens in TFT when I'm also doing best ball is that I don't think I have the mental RAM to
get distracted,
to pivot my comps in TFT. Like right now, if I'm playing TFT while drafting best ball, there's only two comps I can build. It's the 6 Invoker with a level 3 Karma, or it is the Freljord Shurima Akshan. If I don't get fed those while I'm drafting best ball, I will come in 8th place in TFT, and my best ball lineup will look like shit. Like it'll have like 4 auto drafts and very little correlations. And then at the end of it, I'm like, fuck, did I like fuck myself trying to split my mental? But it's fun. It's really fun. And normally it seems like I can get about 1.5 to 2 games of TFT in per DraftKings best ball. So it's like a nice, hour and 10-minute thing. But so one of the last questions I have is, have you been doing any NBA best ball? Because I know you're a big NBA fan. You crushed NBA last year. Have you been dabbling at all with the NBA best ball?
I've done one draft. I haven't done too much yet. Basically, when NBA season ended, I had a really good NBA season on Underdog. I was like, I'm definitely going to get more into that content, like come that time, whether I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm definitely going to do something. And it wasn't best ball though, but I do think that I was talking to Drew Dinkmeyer about it forever ago, and he was just saying that he thinks there's like massive edge in NBA best ball because there's way less written about it, and it's the same as playing NFL best ball 3 years ago. Like people just don't know what the right strategy is. So I need to buy him another beer and get some more insight out of him. But I've done one draft. It was really fun. I think it's interesting. The structure of it is very different. It's a very regular season weighted prize as opposed to, so it's less about, there's less like spike weekiness to it. There is like a postseason prize, but they basically like reduced the amount there because of, the way the NBA season just kind of stops mattering at a certain point and like players stop playing. And so
can't really have like a playoff in the week 17 equivalent of the NBA when like a lot of the studs are resting for playoffs.
Yeah, so like I think it's going to be really interesting. I kind of feel like the best strategy is just, and this is so stupid to say, but I feel like the best strategy is just draft the best players because it's like you're playing for the regular season. And so, like, how much does correlation matter? Everyone plays each other all the time. So I think you just want to draft for, like, health and points and just try to score, like, a fuck ton of regular season points.
Less stacking.
Yeah, I'm not sure the stacking matters. But, again, I have no idea. I've done one draft. I had the 1-1, so I got Jokic. And so it was just, like, that really affects your draft, too. I think probably the biggest thing is, so the team structure-wise, it's very small rosters. Let me pull it up actually to make sure I get this correct. But I think that's one thing that's interesting is you can like the roster construction, you end up, it's 2 guards, 2 wings, a big, a flex, and 10 bench spots. And so it's like you don't need to draft that many bigs. Like I think that you can get away with, you're drafting 16 players. If you have Jokic at 1-1, I think you can draft 2 more bigs the entire rest of the draft and then just like hammer guards and wings and like just try to score a shit ton of points there.
In quarterback, like you have this onesie position.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I need to like I said, I need to buy Drew Dinkmeyer a beer and see what he's thinking. But yeah,
I'm assuming they're going to make more too. The tournament
prize, the first place is $10,000, but the regular season prize first place is $75,000. And so there's a much bigger prize payout for regular season.
Yeah, compared to BBM 4, which is like $3 million goes to first in the tournament and $500K goes to first in the regular season. So like, yeah, you wouldn't mind winning that regular season, but you're really caring more about the tournament. Whereas like in the double dribble, you're caring less about the tournament, you're caring way more about the regular season, which is an interesting shift. Mentally to go from. I haven't done any of the double dribbles. I don't even know how to approach it, honestly. For NBA, I'm really just reliant on ETR. It's like I will upload the ETR ranks and make very small deviations, but like I don't have any edge in player takes or rotations or whatever. That like my NBA knowledge is just so shitty that I don't really like betting on it. But I've seen, so this is what makes me interested, because like I saw people who weren't interested in the NBA really prior to last year get into underdog and like max at like Crutches is somebody who I think of who just like I didn't take him as an NBA person. Talked to him a ton about football over the last like 3-4 years, but like never the NBA. And then like to see him just like adopt the underdog NBA drafter auto draft life and crush it too. It's like, oh well, maybe there's like something here that I need to pay more attention to. Like I know I don't have a big edge in my knowledge of the NBA, but maybe there's something roster construction, game theory wise, that maybe I do have an edge and I don't realize it.
Yeah, I think that for the NBA, the biggest thing is like there's just a ton of fish who play it very casually, and it's just hard to max enter 150 entries a day. But like basically my entire strategy was I was using my own projections, and then I was using stochastic and ETR. And so basically I would do some drafts early in the morning. Like people are on their work commute, and I'm doing like 25 drafts.
And you would just queue
only
up 25 fasts back to back to back
Yeah,
to
so
back
I
to back
used
to back to back.
ChatGPT to make a Chrome extension that would auto enter me into
Let's
drafts.
go.
Because it was too much to click enter over and over again. It would like actually take a while, especially if you turn them all on airplane mode so they all auto draft. Because you don't want to be the asshole who's slow drafting when you know you're not going to be.
Yeah, every single pick 30 seconds.
Yeah, and there's a few of those guys who do this. They do the max enter auto draft, and they're just like, you're sitting there like, come on, man, I just press the airplane button. But so I would do that. I would draft like 25 to 30 in the morning, and again, I would do a couple manual just because I think it's fun, but I think it's like actually worse for me strategically, and so I do that, and then stochastic projections would come out at like 9 or 10 a.m. And there are a lot of people who only use ETR. And so then what I'd do is I would like merge stochastics projections and my projections. And I also use like some ADP adjustment stuff as well, based on like what's the current ADP just in general. And then I'll run another like 25 or 30 drafts. So at this point I'm at like 60 entries out of 150. And then what I'll do is I'll update my like percentage ownership and see if there's like some crazy outlier. Like, am I drafting one player in every
you have
single
like
draft
100% somebody because the projection just was so
and that
good.
happens sometimes, and you're like, oh shit, okay, like I guess I like this guy a lot more than the field does.
And it's like your
then I'll
fourth
start
or
to
fifth
adjust
pick.
that, and then ETR comes out at like 2 or 3. Yeah, like literally, like it's like, oh, some guy is ADP last pick of the draft, and you're taking him in the 5th round every time. But like sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's what you want. There's a few players who were like, there's this guy Feed the Freezer who I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah. Oh, I see him all the time.
And he just like he will set his rankings for NBA, and he will draft based on them no matter what. And you're like, you'll be in drafts where you're just like, that he could wait another round to draft these players, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the whole strategy is basically like using that and then some randomness to change up my rankings every like 10 or so drafts, and just kind of betting that like with volume and strong projections you can beat the field is basically the bet. And it worked really well. I mean, I had a few really lucky nights. Like I had one night where I came in 1st and 2nd place because Jamal Murray blocked a shot in like the literal last second of the game. And I was like, I'm watching this game sweating, and he blocks a shot, and I'm like, oh my god. But so I'm excited for that to come back. I think that'll be fun. I'm excited for NFL regular season as well, and like not the best ball, just like the weeklies. I think that there's probably some way that you can do it. It's not quite as many entries because you have a week instead of a day to max enter. But I think it's going to be fun.
So you think they'll take like a similar? Sorry,
it was a boring story. I was going to say.
I said, do you think they'll take a similar approach to like the battle royales, where you'll max enter over the course of the week the $155 entries through?
Probably. I think what I need to and what I want to spend some time figuring out is like how strong was correlation in the battle royales.
Got you.
I want to talk to like Michael Leone and see if I can bully him into doing a piece about that. But basically, like, were the best feasibly draftable lineups every week lineups that were stacking a quarterback and a wide receiver with like a bring back, or was that not the best way to go. And I was doing like some very basic, just like looking at the top of the leaderboards, and it was kind of hard to tell. But that's something I want to like look into a little more, because the auto draft stuff obviously doesn't take into account correlation, and in basketball it doesn't matter. Like you don't care about correlation.
Yeah, I guess that feels a lot more important in NFL, given just like how the scoring comes about, and you want quarterbacks to stack with pass catchers, and generally some type of bring back seems favorable. I've looked at my ROI for Battle Royale, and then like the 3 to 12 man small contests, and then best ball, and yeah, I basically came to the terms that like I should be taking at least 50% of what I entered in the weekly stuff and put it back into best ball, because the edges I have in best ball are a lot of roster construction, stacking, taking good correlations, but also not being afraid to just like take ADP value that comes to you and alter your draft, because like like Najee Harris at 60, it's like, I don't love him, but like I'm gonna take him at 60 and figure out some way to get a Seattle player in here or something. But I feel like when I was doing the playoff gauntlet drafts is the first time I realized how the other drafters just aren't thinking about the contest they're in. And I was doing a lot worse than just like the weekly thing where it's like, oh, am I picking between like Tyreek or Devontae Adams or Cup this week, versus like for the season, do I have a portfolio of players that I like? So I took a lot of my winnings, and I've just been like, I've bookmarked it for best ball, and I was like, I'm not gonna put this back into the daily stuff or the weekly stuff, because I was just losing. Losing more than I was winning in the second half of the season, and in the first half of the season when I was winning, it wasn't like high enough ROI to lean into. And I was like really big on just taking like Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams every fucking 6-man or 3-man, because I knew if that offense got any points, like it was going through them, and like that worked for the first half of the season. Didn't work the second half of the season.
Yeah.
It's strategies like that where maybe I was like a little too dogmatic of like, who are they playing? It doesn't fucking matter. Josh Jacobs is going to see the ball 25 times. Whereas in the best ball stuff, and also the best ball stuff, it's like I had one entry come top 50 in BBM 3, and then that kind of weighted, best ball to being a better ROI thing. So it's like, how reproducible is getting a top 50? Probably not very, especially considering the team that I had get to the top 50 was like super ugly. And it just really was because like Mike Evans was low owned and dropped a 40 burger that it did well. And it's like, you don't know when you're drafting these lineups what's going to happen, but like you don't really anticipate your no correlation, like 2 naked quarterback lineup with fucking 2 bully tight ends and Mike Evans to be the one that does the best out of all of them.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun, right? You never know.
That's the fun of it. Like any draft could be like, that could be the person you need. Like we always meme about it. But
do you want to hear my pitch for this Japanese baseball style version of best ball?
Yes, we need to talk about this now that we're on the
shit. I've been explaining it to her, and I think she's over it.
She doesn't want to hear any more about Japanese.
No, you make her watch one video about the Japanese baseball league, and she's like, Andy, I'm not sure this wedding should really happen. All right, so
she starts saying she's gonna select her spouse through the draft.
Yeah, she's like, well, it's gonna be a bidding system on who gets to actually marry me with everyone at the wedding. All right, so
anyway, yeah, let's
let me set the stage here, and first let me explain how the first round of the Japanese baseball league, the NPB, I want to say it is, or NBP, whatever, I don't know, how it works, and then I'll explain how I think you would do it for a best ball draft. So in this league, there are 12 teams, and they only do this for the first round, but I think you could do it for an entire draft, and that's kind of my idea. But in the first round, there is no draft position. Every team privately submits their first round pick, and so let's say like using the NBA draft this year, like most people probably want Victor Wembanyama, and so everyone privately submits their first round pick. If anyone else submitted the same first round pick as you, it's randomly decided who gets it. So like if 10 people all submit for Victor Wembanyama, you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting him. If no one else, say if only 2 people did, you have a 1 in 2 chance of getting him. Anyone else, if no one else submitted a pick for that player, you automatically get them. So let's say someone is like, you know what, I just want Scoot Henderson. All other 11 teams put in for Victor Wembanyama. You put in for Scoot, you automatically get Scoot. The other 11 teams have a 1 in 11 chance of getting Wembanyama. Then after that, whatever team has gotten a player, so now let's say like in that same example, 11 went in for Wembanyama, 1 went in for Scoot, so those 2 players are off the board, and 2 teams now have players. Then the other 10 teams do the same thing again, and they resubmit their picks with any other player on the board. And so you keep doing that over and over again until everyone has gotten a player. And so I think there's like a lot of really fun game theory there as far as how many other teams are going to go for the best player available, who agrees what the best player available is, yada yada. And so the idea well, I guess let me stop there. Did I explain that well? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We could think about it just from NFL. Most people might go for Jefferson. You might just be like, I want Tyreek Hill or Cup. And then, after that, it's okay, one of those 11 people get Jefferson. Now they're going to pick between Chase and, whoever.
McCaffrey, whoever else. So my idea for how it would work in a best ball draft is, so let me go through a few the reasons why I think it'd be good. One is like a totally different drafting style. It totally, like, the idea of ADP doesn't really exist anymore in this version. You could go by like round selected, but there's like a lot of other different variables that you'd be taking into account, not just ADP. And at the same time, you have a lot more agency as a player, where if you, let's say you like take Justin Jefferson, or maybe a better example is like you take Devontae Adams, and you really want Josh Jacobs, but like in best ball, it just like doesn't really normally line up to get them both on the same team. Mm-hmm. With this, you can probably at least have a shot. You can try to make it happen, and you can't get like just totally unanimously sniped on Lamar Jackson every time you want him or whatever.
I think it'd be even more fun in the super flex drafts too, where everyone's fucking shit in QBs, and like if you're in the back end, you're like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna take Jefferson and Cup over Watson and Tua. Like it'd be nice to have that type of auction system there, because I mean Superflex is fun, but like if you don't get a top 5 pick, you're kind of pissed. I don't know.
No, I totally agree. And so it gives you like there's no more draft position in general, where like some positions are better than others, whatever. And then the other thing that I think is really nice about it for best ball is it'd be way faster. Like the drafts would be a lot faster. So let's say, for an example structurally of how this would work, you'd go through round by round. And so
30
round
seconds.
one, everyone would have 30 seconds to submit their bid. Everyone would submit their bid. Once they're all submitted, you see who everyone bid for, and then it's like a countdown, like 1, 2, 3, and you see who gets each player. And then you have another 30 seconds. So let's say in the first round, the very first pick, 3 people all get a player. Now you have 9 more people who need to pick for that round. And let's say 3 get a player again. And let's say you just go through that 3 times. You've only had 4 picks for the round, and you've completed the entire first round. And as the draft like progresses and people start to structurally build out teams, you should have more and more spread as far as who people are submitting for every time. And so there's like a very realistic world where the 18th round is 1 pick. Because it's like, maybe you have the Cardinals and you really want Trey McBride, and it doesn't make any sense for anyone else to take him. And so like you submit for Trey McBride, and like probably no one else is going to, and so you just get Trey McBride, and like everyone's kind of doing that for the last couple picks. And so it should like significantly increase the speed of drafts. And the worst case scenario is that it takes the exact same amount of time. Is like all 12 people bid for one player, and then all 11 people bid for the next, and then all 10 bid for the next.
That would be a crazy unlikely scenario.
Yeah, it's like basically statistically impossible, and like also not the right way to do it. And so I think that's one of the major benefits is like I think it would probably cut the draft time in like at least half, if not even more, while offering like a really interesting and unique way to play.
No, I really like that. I think a lot of people would like that too. I think it's one of those drafts where, I didn't really like auction drafts until I did a few. Like I didn't like the idea of an auction draft. It was confusing. And then I did a few and I'm like, oh, this is way better, because like if I'm trying to get a player in a snake draft and I'm not in the right spot that lines up with their ADP, like there's a really good chance if I don't reach a round ahead that I'm just like not going to get that player. Whereas in the auction leagues, it's like, okay, like I'll go 10% over what I think the market value is on this player because I think they'll do better than that. So this is like kind of marrying the best of both worlds, where you don't need to have set values for all the players, and auctioning off a bunch of players is just like slow. Like that,
it'd be really slow,
drafts,
and I think that also ruins a lot with like bots. Like you would just give everyone would just put in their max bid.
You just
for
have a
every single
spreadsheet,
player, and then
auto draft based off of value, and it might not be fun. I think the auction draft shine when you're in like a group of 12 friends, and then it's like
totally.
not like a 50,000+ entry contest. Whereas this MPB style, you could see it being like a GPP or like a big contest.
And I think it would be a little bit confusing to start, but it's not that complex of an idea.
No.
It's just like everyone submits a pick, and if someone else has the same pick as you, it's random who gets it. It's not like, it's nothing crazy. And you just go round by round. You just
definitely
say, okay,
feels
I'm
like
done
something
for
I
round
would
one.
see like Underdog implementing in their suite of tools. Like I feel like they have the UI for it, having that. I don't know, like when I go to DK and draft there, it's not nearly as clean.
There's no way DraftKings is ever doing this.
I don't see DraftKings roll out, but like I could see like Underdog, doing something like that where they have a different draft style, because at the top you can imagine a nice banner that shows the nominations, the picks, the time, the countdown, and that type of stuff.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I was thinking
summer project?
something. It might be. We'll see. We'll see. I think one thing I was thinking about as I was thinking about this is someone should totally build the like Roblox for daily fantasy, where other people can build their own daily fantasy games and like leverage your like gaming license essentially. And so it's like I can go in and just like pull the pieces together to make this game, and then like they get all the revenue and they do like a rev share based on how many like entries you get or whatever. I feel like there's like a lot of value there. That's my other alpha for Underdog to do at some point, is don't make your own contests, let the fans make them themselves, or let the influencers make them.
The UGC of
I
really like that a lot. I think when I was talking to Underdog last year about things, I was pushing for some type of Deeze contest where the winner would get like a pipe for their dog. I really like how they do the different traits for your PFP there. I thought like, along the lines with the influencer thing, they have the is it Jack Settleman has like a snapback because there's like beat Jack contest or so. There's like some Jack Settleman contest. It's like I think the only influencer accessory they have, but it would be fun to see more of those collabs in a way where it's like some type of different contest. Maybe user generated off the rip isn't the best for their license. Like maybe there's something there where they can't do that. Like
I think probably there is.
They probably have to be the ones who are designing it, but like a collaboration with some of their bigger influencers would be definitely fun to see. But yeah,
totally.
We've been spending way more time in the sports betting side of things, and just this is the season to do these drafts. Like you really seems like from the end of May till the start of the season is when people really take this shit seriously. And then once the season starts, you don't have the opportunity to do these. So it's like, well, you got to do them now or forever hold your peace until next year. So you can find us drafting on Underdog and DraftKings every day. We also have a drafting chat. If anyone listening to this is interested in any type of drafting, let me know. I will send you an invite. It's kind of like a private group. We got like 60 people in there. It's good. It's a good group of NFT/crypto degens who also like to gamble on sports. So if that's you, let me know. I'll get you in there. But I mean, we're coming up on an hour and a half. We've hit everything I have listed. This has been really fun. I think we should do some more of these too. I like just being able to talk to you one-on-one and then share it with other people.
Yeah, totally. This was nice. It's and they're easy to do.
Oh, it's so easy. The lift on this is like I'll have to clip the 1 5-minute break, and then I think other than
I'm
that,
excited
I could
to go
just
see my bed.
I could just publish it.
See what it looks
so
like.
We'll wrap it up. Andy, go check out the bed, break it in, make sure that the frame is sturdy. I'm gonna go out for a walk and enjoy the day and rip some.
Is it
graph.
like 100 degrees by you too?
Yes, it's actually ridiculous. It's 90.
Yeah, it's 95 out right now. I'm not going outside until I have to.
Every day if I don't go for the walk, dude, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just wide awake. I'm not tired
Yeah.
at all. And
I'll go to the gym because it's a block away, and so it's like whatever. But
I've been fucking slacking on the home gym. I told myself I would have a full home gym, and what I ended up doing is I bought 6 kettlebells between 9 and 55 pounds, and I just started doing this Tim Ferriss kettlebell workout. It's like one fucking kettlebell thrust move that makes my whole body sore, and I've been doing that for 15 minutes twice a week, and it's sounds super minimal and low key, which it is, but I've noticed results, which is crazy.
that's all that matters.
So instead of buying like the $10,000 pickle home gym setup that I've had bookmarked for a year now, I'm like, yeah, I got the yoga mat and the kettlebells, and I'm just gonna do this. But
I feel like everything about working out is just figuring out what works for you and what, like, you know, the best workout's the one that you do, right?
I make
and so
so
it's just like
many
figuring out what you like and
excuses for
what's easy.
myself. It's so bad. I always have an excuse, and it's never a good excuse. It's always just like, I want to avoid 15 minutes of pain, even though I know it's better for me.
My new thing is I'm going golfing a lot, which is great cardio, just like great like calorie burning. I should say,
How
not necessarily
far
cardio.
do you need to travel to get to a golf course?
It depends. There's some that are in Queens that aren't too far to get to. You know, like I go early in the morning. I'm going tomorrow, and I'm probably going to leave my house at like 5.
And that's a driving thing, right? Like you're not
Yes.
fucking
I'll drive
taking the
there.
clubs on the train up to Queen.
And so we'll see. I've gone twice so far in the city. One was out in Jersey City, and so it was quick to get there. You know, it was like 30 minutes to get there, but it was a long time to get back. But also, did you see that crane that collapsed?
Yes. Drift was going to
that
climb
caused
that.
a lot of traffic. Yeah, that was I was driving home while that was going on, and so
Oh my
that
God.
slowed things down. And then the time prior to that, like there was a bridge that was closed, so I don't really know how long it takes to get home. Like honestly,
It's like a 3-hour
but there's some that are out
commute.
in Queens that aren't too bad. That like should, in theory, if I went out and played there, it's 20 minutes to get out at 5 in the morning, 35 minutes to get back afterwards.
That seems way better than I thought. Like I thought you were going to say like an hour in the morning and like 2 hours in the evening with traffic.
No, when you drive, like New York City, driving at 5 in the morning is great. There's not
It's the
very many
best.
cars around.
Nice. I need to do more outside things. I have never been a big golfer. I like Top Golf. That's kind of the happy medium, but I'm so just bad. I mean, feel like
I'm not good. I'm certainly not super good, but it's been a really nice way to spend time with friends, and just like that isn't sitting in Discord or something. You know, we're getting out, being active.
Yeah,
but
you're not at the
still spending
bar
quality
just
time
like
together.
drinking
Yeah.
for 4 hours, sitting in a chair. You're actually, no, for sure.
Yeah, we're
I
burning
that's the
1,000 calories and.
One of the downsides of living in Ohio is the lack of like physical friends in this location. It's like we have a few, but we don't. That's the nice about New York. It's like a blessing and a curse. It's like you always have friends to do stuff with, but then if I always have friends to do stuff with, I'm just always doing stuff with friends, and then like I am realizing I'm letting my relationship slip and letting other obligations slip, but I'm like fuck. Like I have a really hard time balancing it. But I will let you go. I will fantasize about hitting balls straight and far and maybe not getting a 10 on every single hole. Like if you went golfing with me and we did 9 holes, I would shoot a 90. And if you went golfing with me and we did 18 holes, I would shoot a 180. And like it just gets to the point where you're just like, Deeze, just want to like pack it up and like you could help maybe like caddy for me instead. Like I'm at that point where like if I went golfing with you, I'd probably just offer to like caddy. Like I just fucking bring your bag around.
Still a good time.
It is. It's like I'm going for a Lindy walk, but I'm watching my friends, but then like I'm also carrying something heavy and getting something out of it. So anyway, this has been great. We're going to wrap it up here. For everybody who is still listening, please like, subscribe, comment, leave a rating on any podcast platform that you prefer. All that stuff helps us drastically as we try to break through the algorithm and maybe get some sponsorships or ads for the pod as well. Thank you guys for listening, and take care.